Time, oh time, please won't you tell all the stories you know so well. Time, oh time, please won't you say the stories of yesterday right now. Time, oh time, oh time, oh time. Time, oh time. Time, oh time, please won't you tell all the stories you know so well. Voices crying in the wilderness. Come at you, come at you. Voices crying in the wilderness. Come at you, my people. Voices crying in the wilderness. Voices crying in the wilderness. Pain, way of the Lord. Everybody the people down. Everybody will be exalted. And the crooked will be made straight. That day. Time, oh time, please won't you tell me all the stories you know so well. Time, oh time, please won't you say the stories of yesterday right now. Time, oh time, oh time, oh time. Time, oh
Greetings, everybody. Greetings. Man, it's been busy week, busy weekend, but we are back. We're back on schedule, and I gotta put together some new songs. But these are some pretty good songs that I've had. A lot of them are either they're either from I don't know, some church. We used to go to like a really hardcore Pentecostal church growing up, and some of them are from David Koresh. That's a whole other subject right there. But guys, we're back and literally declaring the word, declaring that risen logos. That is the authority that we're talking about. And man, this message has been on my heart for quite a few, I'd say a few days actually. But these things just come to me like as intense downloads, and the only time I ever prepare for them, like these messages that I'm sharing with you guys, is just if I get a whole bunch of downloads all at once, which literally happened on the night of the 31st. So I got like 3 weeks. Do I have that page here somewhere? Yeah. I don't know if you guys can see this, but yeah, literally, I had a few planned, but from the 15th of October, all of these are going to be reasoning sessions, and if I ever get more downloads, it's just adding to that list. So, but yeah, this one has been on my heart for about, I would say probably since Wednesday or Thursday, just to really do a live sesh on this, because, you know, as we, like the song said, declaring the word, really it's like, it also said like the fields are ripe, you know, the harvest is ready, and people are like wanting to step up and step into that kind of power. But what is that kind of power? You know, are they getting it from churchianity? Well, let's see, because what does the actual text say? And we can contrast that maybe with what we've heard talked about and preached in churches and traditions and all of that stuff. So let's get right to the text here. I'm going to read straight off the screen just so you guys can follow with me, because sometimes I forget. And let's see here. Oh, this was from the reasoning sesh that I just edited, so that will be up. That was supposed to be up this afternoon, but because I've been kind of busy all weekend, I didn't get to editing any of this stuff. So live sesh, Joel Fernandez show, and then this reasoning sesh, and then we're gonna just pick up where we left off. And English is my native language, guys. I still make mistakes to this day. Okay. First off, let's see. We're gonna do this. This is what we're gonna do. Just a little bit of intro here. So, a very famous passage here. This is the opening chapter of the Evangelion of Johannes, or Johannes. Evangelio to Ioannou. Anyway, this is something that I just wanted to cover here. So, man, this setup is kind of awkward. Okay. So if I'm going to be looking at the screen, I'm going to be looking here. We'll get this. Okay. So I just want to open by saying, okay, that's not going to work. That is not going to work. Let us move this back here. I'm going to figure this out. But no problems with the stream. Perfect. All right. Let's just begin. It says, in the beginning was the word. That word in Greek is logos, right? And the word was with God, and the word was God. So basically, this essence that is the living logos is one with God. It's the same thing. But God, it's basically the blueprint through which God or source manifests creation. And that's the spoken word, which reflects onto the Spirit carries it out, in other words. I won't get into that metaphysical aspect of how that is all explainable in this episode. But it says the same was in the beginning with God. So that basically is in the same. Also the word with here is also pros, which can also mean like one and the same, but it doesn't. It's like it's the way the Greek language explains it. It's like it was there with the same thing that we call source. The blueprint was with source. The blueprint was source, and that was all there together in the beginning. That was where all things started from. That source point of expansion. All things were made by him, and that is referring to the word. And of course it's a pronoun. It can also mean it in the gender form, but I mean source has personality, so it's kind of it's not a person like a human is, but it's transcendent, and it is actually the blueprint that causes all things that we call personalities anyway. So awareness in its highest, purest, unshadowed form. Anyway, this is not exactly what I want to talk about right now, but we're going to get there. I'm going to bring this all around. So without him was not anything made that was made. So all things exist because of this spark of the Logos, the divine plan from source, that dimension. Dimension, that's what it means, like the same was with, in the beginning with God. That dimension, okay? In him is life, and the life was the light of men. Now, the word light here, phos, which means like regular light, like how we perceive light, can actually be, because it says zoe, or life, that in that life is the light of men. That literally means not just the existence and not just the ability to live, but actually it means the development, to bring you from one level of awareness to another paradigm, another level, another, you're constantly graduating, and this is what causes us to rise. And the light shines in darkness, and the darkness comprehends it not. The darkness cannot fathom what the light is. And then it goes on and it ties this to the physical manifestation of Yeshua as the living Logos. But I won't get into that right now, because what I really want to talk about is, whether this text is talking about us being like, what's the word? I just forgot. Oppressed, right? Is this text all about us being oppressed? Is this text all about us, enduring persecution? Now, I'm not saying like there won't be persecution when you speak the truth, when you're actually like on that high level. It says right here, the darkness cannot comprehend it. So the darkness is going to be your worst enemy. And here's the thing: when you shine that light, the darkness knows that it's overcome by it. The whole demonic realm knows that it's overcome by light. And this light in specific, the light of the Logos. Okay? So that was a bit of an intro, because really, I gotta say this in love, guys. This has come up so often in the last little while when I'm starting to work with people that, are supposedly, I use the word supposedly, walking in their fullest paradigm, and then they think like we're just here to suffer and we're just here to like deal with things as they come up. But we were just talking about the days of Elijah, right? Declaring the word. You know what? I'm going to actually go to the text right now. This is a bit of a tangent, but it's not. Oh, no, I got to go back once. This is the end of it. But the beginning of it, here we see Elijah, or Eliyahu in Hebrew, the Tishbite, was of the inhabitants of Gilead, said unto Ahab, as Yahweh God of Israel lives, before whom I stand, there shall not be dew nor rain these years, but according to my word. He said, according to my word. He's like, it's not going to rain until I say so. He didn't say, thus says Yahweh, there will be no rain because of your iniquity. You know, he didn't say that. He said, it's not going to rain until I say so. So he left. And so this is the beginning of a drought. And he went to hide for safety by the brook Cherit. And that literally means to cut. And it's in reference to cutting covenants. And that's very important because when all this stuff is done, it's on basis of that covenant that we have access to these kind of, I guess, privileges is not the word, but it's like you have an inheritance with source, joint heirs with Christ, right? And that is the covenant that we have that actually allows us to step into all of what's talked about in the text. Now we're going to put churchianity aside, everything that we've heard from people aside, and we're just going to look to the text right now. So here he has the ravens coming and feeding him. Ravens brought him bread and flesh in the morning and bread and flesh in the evening, and he drank of the brook. Free food. Free food. This is the way Source works. But check it out. After a while, the brook dried up because there had been no rain in the land. So Source was just like, hey, you said there's going to be no rain, so now you got to go without water. Are you going to call the rain back? And he's like, no, not yet. So he arose and went to Zarephath, which was way up in the north, which actually was part of the city. Yeah, it says right here, in Sidon. Near Phoenicia side, Syria on the coast. Anyway. So then there was a widow woman. She was gathering sticks. And he said, bring me a morsel of bread. And she said, I'm gathering sticks that I may go in and dress just a handful of meal and a little oil, that we may eat for my son, that I may go in and dress it for me and my son, that we may eat it and die, because it's a famine. So he says, okay, well, don't worry, just bring me the cake, and after make for you and your son. And she's like, what? But she did it. She did it, because he said, the meal shall not waste, the cruse of oil shall not fail until the day Yahweh sends rain upon the earth. And so as soon as that happened, I'm just trying to paraphrase here because I really want to get to the real issue of what I wanted to say. This is what it's about. Sorry. So he did this, and then she got her meal, but then it came about that the son of the woman fell sick, and he lost his breath, and then he ended up dying. And then it says, Eliyahu's prayed, and then the child's soul came back to him. And then he realized, hey, check it out. Go show yourself unto Ahav, and I will send rain upon the earth. So then there's this huge kind of showdown, and I did a couple videos on this, the Battle of Mount Carmel, and the challenge between him and the prophets of Baal. And obviously they couldn't call fire down. He called fire down, boom, and then called the rain back. So we have this same kind of potential, especially now. And I just wanted to say that, Source doesn't want us to be without anything. People say, oh man, you're just promoting some kind of feel-good gospel and all this stuff. And I'm like, well, what does the text actually say, right? And I'm talking about feeling good. Like, people say, oh, you got to suffer for God to teach you things. Like, suffering only happens because we opened the door or planted those seeds in the first place to reap that kind of harvest. Sure, Source will turn everything negative around into something positive. That's the way Source is if you allow Source to do so. But if you're running in the other direction constantly, it's not going to work. But every time you run towards Source, guess what? Source makes sure everything works out. Let's check this out. And we're going to go to the ministry of Yeshua, because people are like, oh, you got to be sick to be closer to God, you know? God will put you up on your back so that you're facing the sky and all this stuff so you can spend more time. And I'm like, wait a minute. Is there ever a place where Yeshua ever turned anybody down that came to him to be better, that came to him to be healed? Check it out. I'm going to read a bunch of verses just like down the gauntlet here. And we're going to see. We're going to see, okay? This is the Evangelion of Matthew 8:16. When the evening was come, they brought unto him many that were possessed with devils, and he cast out the spirits with his word, and healed all that were sick. I mean, it says all, right? It's not just playing around with words, so we can take that to mean something. Let's go to the next chapter here. 35. And Jesus went about all the cities and villages, teaching in their synagogues and preaching the gospel of the kingdom. That's what you sow, you reap. That's basically what the gospel of the kingdom is. And healing every sickness and every disease among the people. I mean, it says the word every twice. It doesn't just say healing sickness and disease among the people. It says every sickness and every disease. Okay? Let's go to 12:15. And it says, when Jesus knew it, he withdrew himself from thence, and great multitudes followed him, and he healed them all. There's that word all again, right? So is this just a coincidence? Well, let's just keep going. We're looking at the text here, okay? I'm not adding my 2 bits except what the text says. And great multitudes came unto him, having with them those that were lame, blind, dumb, maimed, and many others, and cast them down at Jesus' feet, and he healed them. Check it out. Lame, blind, dumb, maimed. It doesn't just say they had a cough. These are things that we like, oh man, you need an amputation, man. You'll never be able to see again. This kind of stuff. And he's just healing them. It says in the other verse, it says with his word, right? That's the kind of authority that the logos, the spoken word, has, right? Okay. Like, man, I'm going to go on, but like, this is just brief. This is something I have to point out because I'm tired of seeing people just walk in absolute defeat when, especially when you tap into source, you don't have to. And the blind and lame came to him in the temple and he healed them, right? It doesn't say anywhere that he turned them down. Well, let's just keep going. Mark 6:56. And wherever he entered, into villages or cities or country, they laid the sick in the streets and besought him that they might touch if it were but the border of his garment. This kind of thing. Just the fringe of it. And as many as touched him were made whole. As many as touched him. Okay? Like, does it need to be so specific? Right? It could just say, and they were whole, or and there were whole among them. But it says as many as touched him. Now when the sun was setting, this is in the Evangelion of Luke, all they that had any sick with diverse disease brought them unto him. And he laid his hands on every one of them and healed them. Every one of them. Every one of them. Now you can argue with the text, but I'm just reading the text here. All right, let's go on next. Actually, I want to go back to that, chapter 4. Okay, and the whole multitude sought to touch him, for there went virtue out of him and healed them all. That word virtue is actually the word dunamis. And in Greek, let's see if I can get this here. Dunamis is where we get our word dynamite from, and it literally means force or strength or power or ability. Right here, you can see this. Dynamite. Okay, so that's that. And, man, I'm just going to keep going. Then we go to the Acts. And we go to Acts 10:38. Okay. He said, he's explaining the story, and he says how God anointed Jesus of Nazareth with the Holy Ghost and with power, who went about doing good and healing all, there's that word all again, that were oppressed of the devil, for God was with him. Okay, that's great. Let's go back to Luke 4 and see this thing here. In Luke 4, this is right after he comes back from the wilderness, being tempted of the devil and entering back to start his ministry, basically. Right, he came up to Nazareth, and it was the Sabbath day, and he stood up to read, and he read from the book of Isaiah, or Isaiah in Greek. And when he had opened the book, he found the place where it is written, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he has anointed me," Christ, the anointed one, Christos, and that literally is the Messiah. That's the word in Hebrew. Messiah, Christ, same thing. "To preach the gospel, the good news to the poor. He has sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to preach deliverance to the captives and recovering of sight to the blind, to set at liberty them that are bruised, to preach the acceptable year of the Lord." You can also translate it as the year of the Lord's favor. So when Yahweh, that's the word translated Lord here, when Yahweh, actually, you know what? Maybe we'll just hop onto that. See, to break, and he stops right here. This is what he said. The Lord has anointed, Yahweh has anointed me to preach good tidings, the gospel. In Greek, it's evangelion. I don't know. The word gospel is, that's a whole other topic. But good news unto the meek. He sent me to bind up the broken heart, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and the opening of the prison to them that are bound. He didn't say, just carry on with your tension and that's going to bring you closer to source. He said, no, Yahweh's acceptable year, the year of Yahweh's favor. That literally is what it means, because it says Yahweh is that cycle of justice. The isness of what you put out is what you get back. Like I said, the kingdom of heaven is literally seed time and harvest. He's like, the sower went out to sow. That's it. And of course, it's all expounded upon that and built upon that. So what have you sown and what are you reaping? That's Yahweh's justice that keeps coming back. So when the evil kings did evil in the Hebrew scriptures, people are like, oh, Yahweh's such an evil, jealous, vile person. And when you really read it, you're like, man, why does Yahweh still care about these people? Why don't you just wipe them out? Why is he still so patient? And the justice is met upon the people that actually deserve it. Anyway, but we see this, that there's, the whole thing is saying that if there's ever a point where, he wants us to be well, and that's wholeness. Check it out. In his own country, he said there he could do no mighty work, save that he laid his hands upon a few sick folk and healed them. Why does it say this? He marveled because of their unbelief. Man, you don't believe. That's like you're already sowing the seeds that I can't receive this. This is not possible. So you're already cutting out your legs from under you. That's the only time that he actually says he couldn't do any mighty work except a few. And he still healed a couple of them. Still, right? So, we mustn't fall into that spiral of doubt and unbelief. That is literally the worst thing that we can do to ourselves. So, anyway, talking about this, we're talking about, let's just check it out here in 2 Peter. Oh, sorry, 1 Peter. Come on. Sorry, 1 Peter. Right? It says, of Yeshua, who his own self bare our sins in his own body on the tree, that we, being dead to sin, should live unto righteousness, by whose stripes you were healed. So that's talking about the flogging. The flogging that went on in... wrong one. that went on in before he was crucified. Check it out. Like it wasn't just like a little whip. Like they had like the cat of nine tails, and on each of those leather straps, there was like shards of bone and shards of glass that literally like tore out chunks of flesh. So that I won't show you the recreation of it. Like Mel Gibson's Passion was bad enough to watch, but man, there was like literally his whole rib cage and organs were exposed. That's basically what they did. And if they did pass the number that they figured, like 39 lashes, if they ever did 40, usually the person died at the 40th one because they had like a system of how to do it. And yeah, pretty gruesome. So it just seems like, it's like the biggest insult to say like you paid this price free and clear that I can have access to this, and nah, you know what? I'm good where I am. Like, what does that say? What does that say? I don't know. I don't know. Okay, but check it out here. This is literally what it's talking about, because all of that is talking about shalom. Now, this is what Peter is quoting here. But he was wounded for our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquities. He's saying, dead to sin, live to righteousness, right? All of that sin is contrast between our tendency to stumble and fall into like different things, and source is just absolute above all. And then it says the chastisement of our peace was upon him. So whatever needed to be inflicted for us to be that, it's like people say, oh, for me to be better, I got to be afflicted so that I can walk in more potential, and then like fix my mindset, beat myself into submission. But check it out. That was all here. Peace is shalom. I don't need to show you guys this, but our shalom in Hebrew, shalomenu. And that is what it's talking about. All of that was taken care of, and by his stripes we are healed. It also said, check it out. It pleased Yahweh to bruise him. This is not like some old man in the sky, like sadistic, This is what it's talking about. Yahweh is that cycle. And for that to happen, that harvest would still be upon each and every one of us. But when we, it's just like, if someone pays your ticket in court, you're still free to go even if you didn't pay it. It's kind of like that. So yeah, we can never actually pay such a great issue. But this is what it's talking about. It pleased Yahweh to bruise him. He has put him to grief. When you shall make his soul an offering for sin. That's what it's talking about. That's the ransom money, right? And not only that, because it's a contract, blood is the currency of the spiritual dimension. Like Satanists know this, people, spiritualists know this, but like we've lost this kind of understanding in the physical world. Even the ancients knew this, and that's why you had things like blood covenants and blood brothers and all of that stuff. But this actually is a full kind of absolution. That's not even the right word, but it's a resolution for us to actually take that seat of authority as creators outside of this physical ego, whatever we've been programmed with through our senses, not just through institutions, but just living in a physical world. We rise above that. And that logos, which we speak out of our mouth, right? We're made in the image of Elohim. That's the very thing that Elohim did, was to create with the spoken word. Anyway, I'm trying to stay on topic here, but there's just so much I have to talk about, because this whole thing about curse, right? It says like, I'll talk about this here. It says, Peter said that we are dead to sin and live to righteousness, right? So redeemed from the curse. In Galatians, it says Christ has redeemed us from the curse of the law, being made a curse for us. So that's a substitute again. For it is written, cursed is everyone that hangs on a tree. Not just the curse is removed, but the blessing of Abraham might come on the Gentiles or the nations through Jesus Christ, that we might receive the promise of the Spirit through faith. It also says in Romans 8, I'm just shooting this off my head because I didn't plan on cross-referencing so much, but the law of the Spirit of life in Christ Jesus has made me free from the law of sin and death. Let's also have a look at this one here. Dead to your sin, all of this, forgiven trespasses, right? Blotting out the handwriting of ordinances that was against us, which was contrary to us, like which literally held us hostage and said, you owe this, you have to pay this, this is your dues, because, you stumbled or whatever it is, you're not living to your fullest potential, so therefore that is a seed, and that itself has its own harvest. But he took it out of the way, nailing it to his cross. And then it goes on to say how he spoiled the principalities, making a show of them openly. That's why I talk about third heaven authority. But we won't get into that in this episode. This is really what I want to talk about, is the curse and how we're not supposed to be cursed in this life. Check it out. This is the curse altogether. I'm not going to read this because it's so exhaustive, but check it out. Sickness is just part of the curse. That's what I'm trying to say. Yahweh will make pestilence cleave unto you. Okay? Smite you with consumption, with fever, with inflammation, extreme burning, with the sword and blasting and mildew. All of this. It goes on so much. Botch of Egypt, hemorrhoids, scab, itch. Did you know itching is part of the curse? That's, of course, there's a whole lot more here. It's sometimes it actually is a good read because you understand just what we're no longer privy to. And then it goes on to add, all these curses shall come on you and shall pursue you, overtake you till you are destroyed. And where does it say that? I don't know. I'm not there yet. See, it's still going on. It's still going on. And some of it's pretty graphic. You shall eat the fruit of your own body, the flesh of your sons and your daughters. It's just like in distress. Anything that has to do with distress, it's just all of this. See, plagues, long continuance, sore sicknesses, long continuance. He will bring upon you all the diseases of Egypt, which you were afraid of, and they will cling to you, cleave to you. Also, every sickness and every plague, which is not written in the book of this law, them will Yahweh bring upon you until you are destroyed. So you transgress that seed, or you sow those bad seeds, and the harvest comes. But because of that redemption, man, we're like, this is what the text is saying. And churchianity is saying you got to be poor and humble. What's up with that? The thing is that it's not God who doesn't heal. It's the churchianity of today. And the real Elohim, El Shaddai, which is literally, God of more than enough. Actually, you know what? Let's just check this out here first. You know how it says, like, Jesus Christ is the same yesterday and today and forever. So source doesn't change, because source is that isness, that infinite loop of who was and is and forever will be. That is Yahweh embodied as physicality is Jesus, Yeshua. But what I really wanted to point out is some examples, right? So let's just have a look here. Just a couple of verses. I'm going to be able to stick towards my time limit, but we'll just do our best, okay? So Abraham. Oh, am I in the right? Yeah, I'm right. Okay. Abram, before he was Abraham, went out to Egypt, he and his wife and all that he had, and Lot with him into the south. And Abram was very rich in cattle, in silver and in gold. Okay, so he was pretty rich, and he's like the example of this original state where he actually walked with God, and God thought of him as his own friend. So, you know, he was so rich. Let's just, I'm just going to cover a couple verses here. Yitzchak, his son, sowed in that land and received in the same year 100-fold, and Yahweh blessed him. This was during a famine. This was during a famine. And he waxed great and went forward and grew until he became very great. Okay, this is what's up. This is what's up. Famine. There was a famine in the land beside the first famine that was in the days of Abraham. So on top of the original famine, there's another famine, so crops would have done even worse. But check it out. He reaped 100-fold in the same year. And 100-fold, guys, doesn't just mean 100 times. It's literally like if you take a piece of paper and you fold it. Okay, this is 1. So it's 2 to the power of 1. And you fold it again. That's 2 to the power of 2. So imagine 2 to the power of 100. That's 100-fold. I'm not gonna actually. You know what? I might as well. 2 to the. Oh no, not that. Okay, where are you? Is this how you do it? No, that's not it. Exponent. That's an Oh, here we go. 2 to the power of 100. Bam. How do you like that number? So that's like 1,000, million, billion, trillion, quadrillion, pentillion, hexillion, septillion, octillion. So 1.267 over 1 anillion. Like, how do you even, but when you plant a corn seed, think of this. You plant 1 kernel of corn, you don't just get 100 seeds back. Like, each cob has like 600 seeds on it. And then, each stalk has like a dozen or so cobs of corn. And then, this is the way Source is, man. I don't know why churchianity doesn't like to just live that way. That's what it's all about, guys. That's what it's all about. Yaakov, this is a kind of a longer story, but let's just go there too. So Yaakov was gone to his uncle's place. He was working for his uncle. And it so happened that he was tending the flocks. Now, his uncle said, actually, no. His uncle was jealous, and he's like, you're getting all my cattle, and you're making them, reproduce and multiply, and they're going to end up being your cattle. So he's like, okay. Yaakov was like, okay, fine. I will pass through all your flock today, removing from thence all the speckled and spotted cattle, all the brown cattle among the sheep, and the spotted and speckled among the goats, and of such shall be my hire. So he's like, I'm going to take all the ugly ones, and you get all the good ones, and we'll take it from there. Okay, so he did that, but check it out. He was able to make them multiply even more, and it tells this story of how he stuck rods in the drinking gutters of them. Anyway, this has to do with also sowing seeds of consciousness. I won't get into that right now. But it came to pass, whenever the stronger cattle conceived, that Jacob laid the rods before the eyes that they might conceive, so on and so forth. When the cattle were feeble, he didn't promote them. So the feebler were Lavan's and the stronger Yaakov's. And that's just it. His kept multiplying, and it says the man increased exceedingly and had much cattle and maidservants and menservants and camels and asses. That's donkeys, by the way. But he had the 12 tribes came from him, and there were 4 women that gave him that. So, I mean, Sorry, guys. Anyway, so check it out. But he's like still prospering. Okay, and we're gonna go to a little other story where he goes back. He goes back to meet his brother Esav, but here's the thing. Yaakov said, "O God of my father Abraham and God of my father Yitzchak, Yahweh which said unto me, return unto your country and to your kindred, and I will deal well with you." This is what I wanted to say, sorry. "I am not worthy of the least of all the mercies and of all the truth which you have showed unto your servant, for with my staff I passed over this Jordan." He just went over with his staff, and now I am become two bands, two companies. So, you know, this is just it. It's just like you have two entourages, like two troops following you around. You know, that's not cheap. You know, that's not cheap. Let's just put it that way. So yeah, like I could go on and on, but this was all like, of course, before Yeshua. So like, how much more can we tap into now that Yeshua taught us everything, did that work in the spiritual realms, you know, upon crucifixion, and actually what it says in Colossians, right here. Well, actually, no, I won't get into that, but that's basically what we're talking about. You know what? Maybe I will just mention it. Because, see, look, spoiled principalities and powers. That's the kingdom of darkness. He made a show of them openly. He rubbed it in their faces, triumphing over them in it. Right? And this is what it says here. This is literally one of my favorites. Because this is what it's all about. When he raised him from the dead, set him at his own right hand in the heavenly places. This is where he ascended to. Literally, like Source graduated. And because Source graduated, all of us can step into a new level of communion. You know, manifesting that same power. Far above all principality and power and might and dominion. Not just above, but far above. Every name that is named not only in this aeon, but also in that which is to come. And has put all things under his feet, and gave him to be the head of all things to the church, which is his body. Last I checked, feet are part of the body, so we got to exercise this. That is the fullness of him that fills all in all. Okay, so you know that's basically what we have access to here. And talking about that, it's like I did a reasoning sesh recently on this. You know, it's like if you're worried about like your day-to-day stuff, you're not doing it right. You're not doing it right, because look at the birds. He's like take no thought. Don't worry about it. For your body, what you shall wear, what you shall eat, what you shall drink, because life is way more valuable than all of this physical stuff, right? Look at the birds. They don't sow, they don't reap, they don't store their food away. Yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Source is taking care of everything. They just wake up, they find some worms or whatever, right? And you, manifester, are way better than they are. You can't even add any height by worrying about it, right? Why do you care for clothes? Look at the lilies, and they grow. They don't work. They don't have jobs. They don't spin their own fabric. And still, Solomon, King Solomon in all his glory, was not arrayed like one of these. Check out that reasoning sesh. Because Solomon had he made silver. During his reign, silver was as worthless as pebbles because of how much gold was coming in. So if Source, the all-provider, El Shaddai, the God of more than enough, can clothe the grass of the field, which is today, and tomorrow is cast into the oven, how much more will he clothe you? Don't have little faith. Don't have little faith. Know that this is what it's all about. When you have that, it says he didn't heal them because of their unbelief. So you can't have access to this kind of stuff that it's talking about if you're still walking in, oh, I'm not good enough, or I need to be buffeted, or blah, blah, blah. Sorry, I don't want to sound like Greta Thunberg, but that's basically what you guys are saying. If you're on that, I know most of you guys that are watching this, you know better. So don't worry about this because the nations are just seeking after this. That's what the worldly people. I use that word, but it's just people stuck in the physical dimensions, paradigms. That's what they're all about. But but Source knows that you need all these things. So seek first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all these things shall be added to you. We're talking about wealth like even greater than Solomon. Even greater than Solomon. Check it out. That's what he's saying. That's what he's saying. But you know what? Read the text for yourself. You might argue that this is just talking about food and clothes, but he just said, how much more will Source clothe you? Seek that kingdom, and that kingdom again is the seed and harvest. What are you putting out? Are you engaged in this system of sowing and reaping? Otherwise, you're not going to reap very much. This is no condemnation. It's just a wake-up call. Like, wake up. Step into who you're here to be. Why are you anything less than your fullest destiny, man? Why would you want to compromise that? I don't know. It's beyond me. But yeah, like the thing is that if we do choose this kingdom over materialism, there is pushback from the kingdom of darkness, and the kingdom of darkness really wants us to suffer. Really wants us to suffer. But check it out. Suffering is part of the equation, but when you're tapped in, suffering can't bother you because you're just walking in that power. You're just walking forward with whatever you need to do. It's right there for you at your disposal, he says Peter says we have left all and have followed you. Okay, but right before that, Jesus said, with men things are impossible, but not with God, for with God all things are possible. Now, okay, all things are possible, yeah, but is that for my good? Blah, blah, blah. Check it out. After Peter said this, he said, we have left all and followed you. So are we helpless? Are we hopeless because we've left everything? Jesus says this, there's no man that has left house or brethren or sisters or father or mother or wife or children or lands for my sake and the good news' sake. Gospel makes it enigmatic. It's good news, guys. This is the good news. But he shall receive 100-fold. There's 100-fold again. Now in this time, he's not talking about when you die. Like, yeah, in my Father's house there are many mansions, but he said now in this time, houses and brothers and sisters and mothers and children and lands with persecutions. Okay, he's saying, yeah, the kingdom of darkness is not going to like you actually being your fullest potential. You're going to get persecution when you shine that light in darkness because they know they're conquered by it. They know they can't overcome it. It overcomes them. So you'll all get all of this 100-fold. 100-fold, man. Well, actually, this part, 100-fold with this. And in the world to come, eternal life. So there's a distinction between not just now and this time, because he also says, and in the world to come, or eon. So that's what it's all about, guys. That's what it's all about. Let's just keep going. Because really, this is the thing I want to point out, is because people don't realize just what's going on. When you actually tap into this, look at what it says. If any man be in Christ, he is a new creature. That word is creation. It's like you're not just, oh, you're different. It's like you're a species that never existed before. That's basically what it says, implies, okay? But let's just look at the text once again. Old things are passed away. When you're living day to day, physically, mundane, material based, old things are passed away. Behold, all things are become new. Cross-reference this here. When Jesus said to Nicodemus, you have to be born again, he said, I speak. And Nicodemus is like, how can you go back into your mother's womb? Jesus says, except a man be born of water and of the Spirit, he cannot enter the kingdom of God. That which is born of flesh is flesh, and that which is born of the Spirit is spirit. He's talking about your spirit. He's talking about that the waters are emotions and the Spirit is the fire of life. Okay, so that's what we're talking about. We're born from this state of awareness, and we have the mind of Christ to actually manifest it, but we just gotta let all that old stuff be gone. And because we're new, this is also what we have. See, he says, I wish above all things that you may prosper and be in health. So he's not just saying you're going to prosper. It's not generic. He's saying you prosper and you're in health. So you're not going to be sick, even as your soul prospers. Well, because we're a new creation, our soul is now a completely different level and tapped in. It has no choice but to prosper because it's streaming that kind of power. So just the same that prospers. He says you should be, he's praying this, but he's basically saying the two should be on the same level. Your physical prosperity, your bodily health has to be on that same level as your soul prospers. Okay? This is the thing. We have this power, and I'm just tired of seeing, especially churchgoers, man. These are the people that have to tap into it the most because the kingdom of darkness doesn't want them to actually realize it. I think the kingdom of darkness has done a good job, though, because that's where you'll find the most pushback for actually talking this way. But I'm not going to talk any other way. We got to speak the truth. We got to make sure that this is just known across the board. The last thing that the enemy wants is for us to realize that position of authority that is available to us. Okay? I'm going to close pretty soon here. It's already been an hour. But, it's in their interest to keep people weak and sick and helpless. So don't fall for that churchianity keeping you all poor and powerless. Man, literally, you are a child of Source, Elohim. The Spirit itself bears witness that we are the children of God. And if children, then heirs. Right? If you're God's child, you are heir to that inheritance. Heirs of God and joint heirs with Christ. If so be that we suffer with him, that we may be also glorified together. So yeah, Jesus said, there's going to be persecution because the kingdom of darkness doesn't like what you're doing. But guess what? That same thing, you're also brought to that highest point in the whole universe. Okay. God doesn't give you something bad when you ask for something good. This is the love of a father. I'm just going to point this out from Matthew. It says this also in Luke as well. But, no. It's up here. Yeah, see, everyone that asks receives, he that seeks finds, to him that knocks it shall be open. This is the ask and it shall be given to you passage. But he says, so talking about source, he said, what man is there of you whom if his son asks bread, will he give a stone? Or if he asks a fish, will he give a serpent? In Luke, he says, if he asks for an egg, will you give him a scorpion? If you then, being evil, know how to give good gifts unto your children, how much more shall your Father which is in heaven give good things to them that ask him? I think Source doesn't mess up the way we do. So, same thing. Yeah, that's basically just the adage that Luke has. But it's the same thing, you guys. It's the same thing. If we seek Source, really tap in and really make that the priority, even if we're not perfect, guys, it's It's a matter. Sorry. I've been talking a lot this weekend. Okay. And I'm still kind of tired. But I had a good sleep last night, and that's why I'm that's why I'm doing this today, cuz I was way too tired even yesterday to do the live session. Yeah, it's just like you seek that inner connection. You know what? This whole, like, you read the Psalms, you read the Proverbs, it's the same thing. It says the same thing. But you can say, see, trust in Yahweh and do good. So shall you dwell in the land, and verily, truly, you shall be fed. Delight yourself also in Yahweh, and he shall give you the desires of your heart. And it goes on, commit your way unto Yahweh, trust in him, and he shall bring it to pass. Yahweh again, seed and harvest, isness. Why did they translate it Lord? To confuse you between the word that's used Lord and the word that's used for God, so that you think it's the same principle, but these are principles that are very clearly defined in the original languages. And when you understand that, it's like you're reading a science. Well, it's basically like scientific method almost, but it's how to hack reality, Yahweh, that system of justice, and you can't get away with oppressing others without getting out of that. But Source wants all people to be free and literally manifest utopia. That's what this. It's all about. The messianic prophecies are literally about peace on earth. I don't. Well, you know what? Maybe we will close with that, because that is a large portion of what I talk about. And I'm gonna close with this, guys. And this is it. When everything's resolved, here it says, there's so many passages, guys. Now I'm not gonna start cross-referencing these. Actually, this is word for word in the Oracle of Micah too. So actually, I'm gonna read it from there. Because there's a bit more after it, but yeah, check it out. In the last days, the mountain of the house of Yahweh shall be established in the top of the mountains, and shall be exalted above the hills, and people shall flow to it. Many nations shall come and say, come, let us go up to the mountain of Yahweh, to the house of the God of Yaakov. Yaakov can literally mean the circle, the supplanter, that which comes up in the place of another and just continues rotating. That's basically what Yaakov also means, because Yaakov's name was changed to Israel, but it still refers to him as Yaakov after that, which is very peculiar. When Avram's name is changed to Avraham, it never refers to him as Avram ever again. Same with when Saul of Tarsus changed his name to Paul. Yeah, anyway. Nation shall come forth. Let us go up to the mountain of Yahweh, to the house of the God of Yaakov, and he will teach us his ways. This system, this understanding of what the way of operation, the generative force. We will learn this, and we will walk in those paths. For the law, the path, the way of doing things, the teaching, the Torah, shall go forth from Zion, and the word of Yahweh from Jerusalem. The word, logos. In Hebrew, this is devar, which can literally mean logos, because logos also means ideas or concepts or things, extension. I mean, the Greek has other words for that, but in Hebrew, devar means thing or idea. It's just, Hebrew is a different language, though. But anyway, he shall judge among many people. So Source's justice will be the judge, and rebuke strong nations afar off, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. That's kind of a lofty goal, I would think, but this is the point. This is where the whole thing is headed. We got to accept the bridge to get there before we get there. And if we're stuck in a poverty mindset, that lack mentality, ghetto mentality. See, I grew up in the ghetto. Well, not the ghetto, but I know what it's like to be in a place where there's not well off people and you have like three families living in one house. I know what that's like, but that's a mentality that keeps people there. Really, they don't have to be there, but they just don't know how to expand that. You know, it has a lot to do with programming and televisions and all this stuff. When you're in a certain mindset, you tend to surround yourself with things in that same paradigm. But it just takes a little bit of intention to break out of that. Because look, they shall not learn war anymore. Huh? They shall sit every man under his vine and under his fig tree, and none shall make them afraid, for the mouth of Yahweh of hosts has spoken it. That's quite a lofty goal, but we will see even more. Actually, no. Let's go. See, the other people, at the same time this happens, Yahweh will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury and his rebuke with flames of fire. This is a judgment coming to the people who have done, injustice. It goes on to say, like, for by fire and by his sword, that's the spirit and the word, will Yahweh plead with all flesh, and the slain of Yahweh shall be many. They that sanctify themselves and purify themselves in the garden, behind one tree in the midst, eating swine's flesh, the abomination and the mouse shall be consumed together. For I know their works and their thoughts. It shall come that I will gather all nations and tongues, and they shall come and see my glory. And that is a very, very powerful. Oh, where are you? That is a very powerful statement, because it sounds like it's just keeping on going, right? For the earth shall be filled with the knowledge of the glory of Yahweh as the waters cover the sea. This verse is literally in like 4 places. So that, like, when Source says something once, you better be paying attention. I say this a lot, but twice, yeah, okay, underline this thing. 3 times, it's like a sure deal, but like after that, check it out. It also says this in the end of the oracles of Ishaiah. But I'm just going to read this part just a bit. The wolf shall lay down with the lamb, the leopard shall lie down with the kid, and the calf and the young lion and the fatling together, and a little child shall lead them. This sounds impossible, right? The way the physical reality, time, space, plane is set up. But as we become more of who we're here to be, that big picture of everything becomes more of what it's here to be. And then that actually fulfills itself. That's that's the potential. That's the only thing that's holding us back from achieving that state, is individuals that aren't living that full potential. The sucking child shall play on the hole of the cow and the bear shall feed together. Their young ones shall lie down together. And the lion shall eat straw like the ox. Talking about a different paradigm, you know? Even nature itself will start to embody more of this higher paradigm. Like, how does it work when their digestive system is a certain way? But this is the thing, the digestive system is a manifestation of the causal realm. And that can literally be revamped when the causal realm is changed. Guys, like, I know this sounds ridiculously out there, but this is the power of manifesting utopia, and it's all right here. Literally, there's enough power in just one person to bring this about. Just saying. I would love to be that one, but we're all taking steps, and it will take steps to get up there. I honestly think I'm pretty far up, but if you just keep taking steps, you're just going to end up closer than where you started. I think that's the goal. Just do your best. And like the cliche saying says, God will do the rest. Anyway, that was basically it. That's basically it. That's what I really wanted to talk about today. And I'm going to have to find a new place for this microphone. But actually, you know what? Let's just move this. Ooh, move it. It's still... no, then I'm out of the frame. So anyway, guys, that was the live sesh. I hope you enjoyed it. We are literally realizing who we're here to be. That's what it's all about. Because if we're not here to be who we're here to be, then there's no point. There's no point. So, right now, just receive that potential. Just receive that potential, guys, because, honestly, why wouldn't you want it? It's right there. It's right there in black and white. Anyway. We got this, okay? Those of us that are in this high vibe tribe team, light manifestors, they're actually tapped into the living logos. Man. And this is why I was so busy this weekend. I'm actually gonna share this. We're starting something new. We're starting something new. If you want to know more, you can check out my Telegram account. The link is not in the description here, but it's in my other videos. Something really big is underway right now. Really big. And let's just say the wicked people that have pulled this stunt on humanity are, not will be, they are being held accountable. You'll never hear this in the mainstream, but this is why I was busy this week, and that's just the beginning. So when you tap in, like it's happening, it's happened, it's already, yeah. And I want all of you guys to actually step in and actually start living this potential. I don't know, because so many people out there, like, all they know is mainstream media. And, you know, some days are better than others, I guess. Even if you're, like, watching Telegram or you got some good sources on fake book. All of that stuff, when you're actually part of the frontline action and, you know, these people are... there's a reason why Source downloaded to me the art community. Because now we're literally, coming together. We're literally coming together. And what's going to be on the other side of this, guys, it's all, like, right now, it's just like, tap in, man. Source wants this for you. Source wants this for you. Don't criticize this stuff, man. Why does anybody criticize this? That's the plot of the Kingdom of Darkness, to convince people that... Because you can't make a big difference when you're living hand-to-mouth yourself. I mean, Source will give you what you need. You know, anything that you can't handle, it's probably not for your benefit. But all good things come from Source, and that's in abundance. Like I said, the cobs of corn. I did a calculation on how much... if you just if you just got one seed and you planted each one every year, like you planted one and you got your crop, and then you saved all those seeds and you planted them all, even with calculating like failure, like crop failure, like the seeds that don't germinate, in a period of like 6 years, you'll have more seeds than able to plant on the entire area of land on the earth. Not just arable land, but land total. In 6 years. 6 iterations of planting and reaping. How much more when we plant in the causal dimensions? So, it's great. It's a great time to be alive. So I'm going to leave you with that, guys. Receive your potential right now. Don't hold back. Don't hold back. That's it. I just speak this over everybody. All of the people on my subscriber list. You know, you get this every day, and now I'm just doing it in front of the camera so that you can actively receive it. Actively receive it and actively step up. So with that, we're going to close with a blast of the shofar, just for that sound to go forth and literally clear the hornets before us, or send the hornets before us to, you know, clear the land before us. Yeah. That's a reference to when the children of Israel went into the promised land. So, with that being said, guys, keep it real. Be on the right side of history. I know you already are, but just tap in, because that potential, it's always another step. You're always reaching from level to level, glory to glory. That's what it is all about. Glory to glory. Shalom, my friends. Shalom.